The tale begins with Alina, a receptionist at the Adventurers Guild. She considers it her dream job because it offers stability and security. Her role is simply to assist adventurers with a smile. However, when they struggle against a boss, her workload increases, forcing her into overtime. Secretly, she's immensely powerful, so she disguises herself as an adventurer to eliminate bosses and lighten her workload. A renowned adventurer, Guns, arrives, widely recognized as an elite guild member. He informs Alina that he plans to defeat the boss in the underground ruins, and everyone eagerly anticipates his performance. Claiming his party will clear the dungeon, she asks for his second-class license, but he insists that, as a member of the Silver Sword, the guild's strongest party, he should be granted an exception. She finds him frustrating since quests require a license, but she explains it ensures his class aligns with the dungeon's level. He removes his helmet, asserting his fame makes verification unnecessary, but she still demands his license. Reluctantly, he hands it over, and she wishes him luck. The story takes place on the Halia continent, where the ancestors known as the Dia were believed to be blessed by the gods. They built a highly advanced civilization, but mysteriously vanished, leaving monsters to overrun the land. 2 centuries ago, adventurers reclaimed Alakia from the monsters and restored human settlements. Reception halls were founded by the Adventurers Guild, and Alina works at the continent's largest, called the Affer Counter. One evening, as adventurers unwind in the tavern, Alina works late, struggling with paperwork. She longs to go home and relax, but knows neglecting her task will only cause a backlog, overwhelming her later, so she pushes through. She blames the dungeon boss for the workload since its presence continuously attracts monsters, keeping adventurers occupied with quests until it is defeated. After a month of overtime, she's had enough and resolves to take action. In the underground ruins, the Silver Sword battles a dragon boss. Their leader, Jade, shields the team from its fiery breath, while Guns charges in, but his strike proves ineffective, and the dragon hurls him away. Their healer, Lily, swiftly aids him, as their mage, Law, conjures ice shards against the dragon, but they have no effect. Realizing their inability to win, they contemplate retreating, until Alina unexpectedly arrives. Jade turns to her. As Jade prepares to retreat, Alina summons her warhammer and charges forward. The dragon attempts to incinerate her, but she swiftly dodges and smashes its head. It tries to escape by flying, unleashing another burst of flames, yet she evades the attack and slashes its body with her weapon. Screeching in agony, the dragon plummets to the ground, leaving the Silver Sword members stunned by her strength. They recognize her as the elusive adventurer, the executioner, who always steps in when the guild struggles with a dungeon boss. As the dragon drops a relic, Alina feels relieved that she can finally leave work on time. However, as she turns, Jade catches a glimpse of her face. The next day, Alina realizes she made a mistake. Guns has announced his retirement, and now the guild is searching for her to take his place. Her friend Lyra excitedly asks if she knows the executioner, calling her the world's coolest adventurer. Lyra believes that with her and Silver Sword, they'd become unbeatable, but Alina dreads being discovered. If the guild learns her secret, she'll be fired. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Jade investigates female adventurers, revealing to his party that the executioner has black hair and green eyes. They urge him to focus on finding a new attacker instead, but he remains determined. Later, Lily tells Elle she needs herbs, but he just wants to sleep. She hands him a donut, calling it delicious, and he reflects on the unpredictability of an adventurer's schedule, realizing they must make good use of their time. She urges him to go out more, and as she buys fruit, he decides to join her. Meanwhile, Jade ponders the relic, noting that it enhances the wielder's strength. Since adventurers usually fight over such treasures, he wonders why the executioner ignored it. He recalls the unique way she summoned her weapon, unlike anything other adventurers can do, suspecting it's a Dia skill. Suddenly, a gust of wind reveals Alina, and he notices her resemblance to the executioner. Shocked, he decides to follow her, struggling to believe she's merely a receptionist. Alina, relieved that fewer adventurers are seeking quests, is startled when Jade suddenly appears, asking about the executioner. She panics and feigns ignorance, but he confidently states that he saw her face in the dark. She believes it's impossible, having hidden beneath her hood, but he's certain of her identity. Realizing her receptionist career is in jeopardy, she desperately suggests they talk elsewhere. Jade hands her the relic dropped by the boss, and as she warns him of its extreme durability, she unexpectedly crushes it with her bare hands, leaving him as Jade. Shocked by her strength, she tells him she just wants to live peacefully in her job, warning that she'll kill him if he keeps pestering her. As she turns to leave, he tries to stop her with his ability, revealing that it solidifies anything it touches. However, she summons her warhammer and smashes the ground, preparing to strike him down, believing it's the only way to protect her career. But he questions where her weapon came from, realizing she used a Dia skill. He explains that such abilities should have vanished with the ancients and are far superior to the ones adventurers typically wield. Yet she remains indifferent, threatening to kill him again. He clarifies that he's not here to fight, but to recruit her into the Silver Sword. She outright refuses, unwilling to leave her position. Curious about why she slew the dragon, she admits it was just to avoid overtime, pointing out that paperwork kept piling up because of the boss. She vents about the exhaustion of being overworked, blaming his party for failing to defeat the dragon, forcing her to step in. He argues that joining the Silver Sword would free her from overtime, but she counters that adventurers lack stable schedules, making it an unappealing choice. She warns him not to expose her secret identity and walks away, but he remains determined. Returning to work, she believes she'll finally leave on time, but an adventurer named Slay appears, demanding Lyra hand over a secret quest. Knowing it doesn't exist, Alina informs him that their counter doesn't manage such requests and that all available quests are on the board. However, he refuses to believe her and attempts to strike her, only for Jade to intervene. Slay accuses him of showing off and tries to punch him, but Jade easily deflects the attack and warns that he'll break his arm if he touches Alina again. Slay quickly retreats, and Jade checks if she's all right. She thanks him but questions why he's there. He simply says he was passing by and that it's time for him to head home. The next day, Alina thinks about Jade, wishing to make him suffer so he won't reveal her secret. But she knows that harming a high-ranking guild member would cost her job. She longs to escape reality, but acknowledges that her position as a receptionist granted her a high credit score, allowing her to secure a loan for her house, something she doesn't want to risk losing. Later, as Alina enjoys her lunch, she wonders why Jade frequently appears at the quest counter. Suddenly, he approaches her, commenting that she found a nice spot. Annoyed, she summons her hammer, warning him not to disturb her meal. He asks when she acquired her Dia skill, pointing out that no one knows how to manifest it and suggesting that she's wasting her potential. Alina remains firm in her decision to stay a receptionist and tells Jade to stop following her, as she will never join the Silver Sword. As she walks away, she wonders why God granted her a Dia skill. A flashback from 2 years ago reveals the annual festival where everyone is celebrating. At the time, Alina had just started working as a receptionist and was struggling with the job, constantly working overtime to finish paperwork. She reaches her breaking point, recalling that on the festival day, the person with the strongest wish is blessed by Dia. Desperate, she begs God to free her from overtime, but nothing happens. After work, she hurries to the town square, only to find that the festival is already over. She bursts into tears, expressing her hatred for overtime and her willingness to do anything to escape it. She wishes for overwhelming strength to remove all obstacles, and suddenly, a magic circle appears as God grants her a Dia skill. Back in the present, Slay declares his intention to punish Alina. Spotting a party that has captured a golem, he devises a plan. Meanwhile, Jade is lost in thought about Alina when the ground trembles. The golem has gone berserk. Jade provokes it, urging the adventurers to flee, but they warn him that it's a raid boss he can't defeat alone. They explain they used hypnosis to transport it for materials, but it suddenly lost control. Slay reveals his skill allows him to manipulate the golem and announces his plan to destroy the town. As the golem prepares to strike, Jade grabs a shield to defend himself. Elsewhere, Alina is frustrated because her boss has assigned her another report, forcing her to work overtime yet again. Hearing screams, she looks outside and sees Slay wreaking havoc. When the golem hurls boulders, she realizes one is heading straight for her home. She rushes to stop it but arrives too late. Her house is already destroyed. Devastated, she laments that she still had 30 years left on her mortgage. Overcome with rage, she summons her warhammer, determined to kill Slay. Back at the battle, Jade struggles to find a way to defeat the golem when Alina suddenly appears, slicing off its arm. Slay, aware that the guild is searching for her, assumes they will be enraged if he kills her. However, she furiously declares that her home is her sanctuary, where she recovers after exhausting workdays, and she demands vengeance for its destruction. He commands the golem to attack, but she effortlessly cuts it in half, sending it crashing to the ground. Horrified, Slay calls her a monster, but she warns him not to mess with people's belongings before smashing the ground, making him realize he narrowly escaped death. Afterward, Alina is left distraught, unsure where to stay. Jade offers his home, but Alina declines Jade's offer, insisting she'll find a room to rent. Meanwhile, the guildmaster, Glenn, discovers that the executioner appeared in town. Though pleased she protected everyone, he remarks that her luck has run out and activates his skill to view past events. Alina, once again stuck working overtime, gets unexpected assistance from Jade, who encourages her to stay positive. Since he holds guild executive status, he has access to her office and urges her to go home and rest. However, she insists on completing everything that night so she can leave early tomorrow. Jade presents the documents he finished, and she is impressed by their perfection, recognizing his quick learning ability. She, on the other hand, feels inadequate, believing herself to be clumsy and prone to mistakes. His effortless progress frustrates her. She has struggled for 3 years, yet he has surpassed her instantly. Tearfully, she laments the unfairness of life, but he reassures her that his success is thanks to her teaching. He then offers to handle everything for her. To cheer her up, he brings sweets but notices something inscribed inside the shattered relic. As he reads it, the relic activates, generating a request form, instructing them to defeat all bosses in the Chalk Tower. Jade is puzzled, having never heard of this place, but Alina dismisses it, handing over the relic and assigning the quest to the Silver Sword. He promises to investigate it. The next day, Alina is in the news again. Lyra excitedly states that the executioner is amazing, noting that he is as famous as Jade. She admits to being a fan of both, assuming the executioner must be handsome. Having witnessed their teamwork against the golem, she believes they make the perfect duo, Jade as the best tank in the guild, and the executioner as the strongest attacker. Glenn then arrives at Afr Counter, expressing curiosity about the executioner. Approaching Alina, he asks if she is aware of his skill. She acknowledges that it allows him to freeze time and see past events. But then it dawns on her, he must have used it to reveal her identity in the square. Realizing her secret is exposed, Glenn requests a meeting at headquarters. Alina assumes she is about to be fired, while Jade remains hopeful that Glenn will understand if she explains her circumstances. Annoyed, she snaps at Jade to be quiet, declaring that she hates him. Heartbroken, Jade is left reeling, never having wanted her to despise him. His friends sympathize, recognizing that he has fallen for her, though Elle deems his situation hopeless. At the guild's training grounds, Alina meets Glenn and questions why he summoned her there. He admits he never imagined she could be the executioner, as she appears entirely ordinary. Glenn challenges Alina to a duel, stating that if she loses, she must join the Silver Sword. But if she wins, he will leave her alone, assuring her job security regardless of the outcome. Summoning her warhammer, she charges at him, while Lily and Law realize she truly is the executioner. However, Glenn halts time using his skill, observing that she resembles a dark god. Unexpectedly, she shatters his barrier, demanding an explanation. He reveals that they are inside his observation room, a space separated by the flow of time, where he alone should be able to move freely. Acknowledging defeat, he restores time to normal. She questions why he fought her, and he explains that he needed to understand the true nature of her powers. His assistant elaborates on curse skills, noting that they surpass standard adventurer skills, but pale in comparison to Dia skills, which are legendary. Uninterested, Alina reminds Glenn of his promise to leave her alone. Instead, he discloses that the guild discovered a new dungeon, the Chalk Tower. The request form that emerged from the relic was an ancient secret quest. Realizing that more quests mean additional overtime, she deduces that eliminating dungeon bosses was her way to reduce work hours. Glenn, understanding this, offers a reward if she assists in clearing the dungeon. She refuses, insisting he find someone else. However, he vows to double the number of receptionists at the after counter, reducing her workload. Convinced that this will prevent overtime, she agrees but demands he uphold his promise once the quest is completed. Later at the Silver Sword Inn, Alina admires her luxurious room, tempted to sleep in. But when Jade knocks, she realizes it's time to go. The Silver Sword travels to a canyon where Jade comments that Alina took a paid leave day to participate. Annoyed, she argues that it's a well-deserved reward for working adults. Upon reaching the Chalk Tower, Jade explains that the guild has restricted information, limiting knowledge of the dungeon to first-class adventurers. He hands Alina a necklace containing a guiding crystal shard, explaining that only Silver Sword members possess one. If the wearer nears death, the crystal will alert the team. On the first floor, Jade notices Alina's lack of party combat experience and instructs her to wait for his signal before attacking. Suddenly, a werewolf appears, and Jade provokes it. Jade uses his skill to block the werewolf's attack and signals Alina to strike. Without hesitation, she smashes its head, killing it instantly. The party quickly realizes she doesn't need their assistance. Noticing the absence of a boss on the first floor, they question the ancients' intentions when constructing the dungeon. Alina wonders about their disappearance, while Lily speculates that their pursuit of power angered the gods, leading to their downfall. However, Jade clarifies that no one truly knows what happened to them. As they reach the second floor, they suddenly hear screams and find adventurers lying lifeless on the ground. Lily attempts to heal them, but realizes they are already dead. Jade observes that their tank was slain in a single blow. They discover a survivor named Rufus, who reveals that a humanoid monster was responsible for the massacre. Before they can react, a beast appears, prompting Alina to summon her hammer and slice it in half. Recognizing her as the executioner, Rufus grows suspicious, believing she is working with the monster since both wield similar skills. Back at headquarters, Jade informs Glenn about the monster's ability to use a dia skill. Glenn considers suspending the quest, but Rufus strongly objects, frustrated that Jade won't allow him to join the Silver Sword. He argues that he deserves a spot in their party. Jade tells him to calm down, but Rufus threatens to expose the executioner as a monster unless she is expelled and he takes her place. When asked about his motives, Rufus reveals that he seeks the secret relic hidden deep within the dungeon, which grants its wielder a dia skill. That evening, Jade tells Alina that Rufus will replace her, allowing her to return to her receptionist duties. She questions whether the guild will keep its promise, and although Jade reassures her, she finds his response suspicious. Dismissing him, she insists on packing her belongings before moving out. Despite everything, she worries about Jade and the others, knowing the monster possesses a dia skill. He tells her not to worry, assuring her they will retreat if the battle proves too dangerous. Before parting, he mentions she can stay until her house is repaired. As he bids farewell, Alina is suddenly reminded of someone from her past. In a flashback, she recalls an adventurer named Shroud, whom she idolized and aspired to be like. He, however, urged her to become a receptionist, emphasizing the job's stability and safety. Still, she longed to grow stronger so they could complete quests together. He promised to form a party with her once she matured. But one day she stumbled upon his lifeless body, devastated by his death. Alina wakes up, noting that she hasn't had that dream in a long time. Preparing for work, she remains preoccupied, unable to shake her concern for Jade and the others. We cut to Jade, visibly exhausted from using his skill to detect threats around them. The party reaches the final room on the fourth floor, and Jade notes the scent of blood. However, the room is too dark to see anything until Elle casts a spell to illuminate it. They then notice a slain monster and soon spot the humanoid figure, who introduces himself as the dark god Scylla. Summoning his spear, he hurls it at Jade, who quickly activates his skill to block the attack, but realizes that his shield has cracked upon impact. Lee suggests retreating, but Rufus suddenly traps them in a cage. He then reveals that the dark god had been sealed within the dungeon and that the seal would break once he consumed enough human souls. Rufus admits that he murdered his own comrades to feed Scylla, and declares that he is willing to sacrifice everyone present in exchange for a Dia skill. Before he can continue, Scylla abruptly stabs Rufus from behind and devours his soul, only to express disappointment at its foul taste, remarking that Rufus was a despicable person. However, he eagerly anticipates savoring the souls of the remaining adventurers. But that's where this video ends. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.